Welcome, Capsuleers, to Talking in Stations. This is AFish, and today we're going to be welcoming a very special guest, Captain Chesslee, who has overcome her stroke and actually used Eve Echoes as a form of therapy. Chesslee, can you introduce yourself and let us know what corp you're with and alliance you're with?
Sure. So I'm Captain Chesslee. I am the CEO of Netflix and Drill, or NAD. We're part of False Trajectory, and we are an industrial based corporation. We hang out in Null, and we love to build ships.
Awesome. I still loving to build ships even after insurance.
Yeah, I address that later.
Awesome, awesome. Well, so tell me a little bit about what got you interested in Eve Echoes.
My husband tried out Eve Echoes when it was in beta, and he originally thought it was going to be too complicated for me with my stroke recovery, but because he used to play Eve online in college, so he thought it was going to be like that complicated. But when he got in the game and realized it was a little bit easier and I could do what I want, he talked me into it and kind of opened me up to the whole Eve world. I didn't know anything about it before.
That's kind of funny. I had a very similar experience. My boyfriend always
Yeah.
thought Eve Online was a little too complicated, but Eve
Right.
Echoes seemed to be a little bit more manageable. So, I
Um,
mean, did you ever play any other games aside from Eve Echoes, like maybe first person shooters?
I have been a gamer since I was a kid. I used to stay up all night in middle school playing The Sims, until 2 a.m. And then I started playing PlayStation, things like Call of Duty, Don't Starve, Borderlands, Assassin's Creed, and those kind of games are what I've been used to.
Gotcha. So, what was kind of one of the big differences between like those types of games versus Eve? Like, did you notice a much more engaging kind of world in Eve Echoes?
Um, Definitely. A lot more feeling of like family, a lot better connections with people. It wasn't like I was going and killing this random guy, it was like, oh, I'm killing someone who, may be part of this alliance and it may affect me this way. Like there's so many more intricate parts when it comes to Eve Echoes than there is the other types of games
It's
I've
de-
played.
it's definitely it has a lot of layers to it, and I think that's one thing that makes this
Right.
game beautiful is just really the community. And this is kind of seeing the other side of the community. There's a lot of people who sometimes see Eve Echoes or Eve Online community as toxic or like crazy. There's a lot of crazy stories, but this is kind of one of the stories on the other side. I think it's really interesting to hear when I spoke to you that you had a stroke and you used this game to help you. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened with your stroke, or just share what was the event surrounding that?
So my whole life I've had a lot of health problems, and over the last few years I got a really suppressed immune system. I can't handle stress, which is kind of funny because in eVecos there's a lot of stress, but it's different. But I can't handle like real life stress. So we were just driving home from a really stressful weekend with all my friends, and I started having like multiple seizures over and over. Um, and it ended up I was having TIAs, and I had a stroke in the right side of my brain. So like the left side of my body was weak, and I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk. My I have vocal tics like aphasia, but I had to learn to walk again. And that was probably to walk and to talk and to do every single task that I used to do that was so easy to do all over again, just because of this, as they're calling it, stress response stroke. So
Yes. And now, I mean, it is true that Eve Echoes can be a very stressful game. Do you think sometimes almost experiencing the stress in game has helped you learn how to cope with the stress in real life?
I would say that that is definitely exposure therapy that I've gotten with playing Eve, is that it does like cross over to getting you that like heightened sense of all those emotions and kind of like, slowly like release from that stress.
100%. Now, feel free to share any events that started during your recovery when you started playing Echoes, like, and you're in your recovery stage. What did you start to notice?
Um well, when I originally started, it was too hard for me. I literally like threw my phone at the wall like a few times, and I'm like, "Why would you recommend this game?" To my husband, like, I'm suffering from a stroke, and he would just tell me, try again. So we ended up like getting note cards and writing down like things like how to buy something off the market, how to fit a ship, and I mean just note cards and note cards about Eve Echoes, and I noticed how much my processing, my brain was being used by doing all of these things and the numbers and the market and all these things you have to look out for. And then I also noticed like my fine motor skills, which were really poor before, like pressing the screen and trying to attack or trying to do stuff quickly. I mean, I died a lot at the beginning, but as you go over, like your fine motor skills get better. And those little things you don't think about, just targeting a ship, pressing menus, all these things, were really important for my stroke recovery, I feel, and Eve Echoes.
100%. Now, was there people kind of joke that Eve has this very steep learning curve. Was there
Oh,
for me it was kind of after I played the tutorial and finally, I played alpha, beta, and then I think they had a second beta. But I mean,
yeah.
each time I played, I started getting more and more familiar. There's this big learning curve. Was there an aha moment or a moment that you remember thinking, "Oh wow, I'm really getting this game. I understand how to play."
Yes, definitely. My husband showed me a meme when I was having one of my bad Eve days, and it was a graph that shows the learning curve, and it is like this. And I was like, okay, if this is a meme, like I can do it. So I held on to it, and I think it was when like I fit my first ship that was kind of more expensive. At the time that was probably like 50 million or something, but like I fit that and I'm like, okay, wait, I'm getting this. I know how to fit it. I know how to use it to shoot. I know how to turn my shields on. And it was kind of that moment where I was like, okay, this is not as bad as I thought it was.
Definitely, because there's so many components. You have to skill in a
Yeah.
certain thing. You have to be different types
Yes.
of ships, and
Yeah.
it can definitely be a little bit overwhelming. But I remember even for me, there was a time where I started realizing, okay, I'm really getting how to play this, and this is really
Right.
unique. So, how did you? I mean, we touched a little bit on it, but how did you start applying some of these things that you learned in Echoes in real life? Like, was there any specific, like, oh my gosh, I'm doing these calculations, like, I noticed my math is starting to improve, or anything like that?
Um, yeah. There I noticed that um when I first had to join Discord, and I had never used Discord in my life, but I had to um download that to talk to court members and plan things. So that was a whole like trial and error, and I did not know what I was doing. But now I can set up rules, and I'm doing some coding and figuring out bots and that kind of thing. Also, we had a lot of new court mates who were not understanding um, just basic things like how to join a fleet or how to mine safely or that kind of thing. So, um, my husband and I started a YouTube channel where we go over just all the basic things for new beginners, like in our corp, but I mean, they're available to everyone. And just making those videos I had to learn photo editing and YouTube content creation and video editing, sound editing, promotional skills of corp, and those things can transfer anywhere, to real life, I feel. So, I mean, that was my favorite part of like the in real life transfer was just learning how to build this corp and help people out and get better. And I feel like that just take that wherever you go.
100%. Now, you're talking about leading a corp. How does it feel to be a leader of a team as someone who has had a stroke and then use this game to help rehabilitate yourself?
I love being the leader. I love it. Um, the first time I logged in, I wanted to be the CEO. The next day I made my corp. It was back when you could get a mortgage. um, so we did that, and for me, being the leader is important because I I have I have a very straightforward path when I do things. Like, I don't like following other people's ideas or other people's what they want me to do. So I I decided that I wanted to build a corporation that helped new people just in the game. And that's what we were able to do. And the fact that I could meet my goals and my court mates have their own individual goals and we promote that and I help them. It's kind of like being the leader feels so great because everyone is so excited to play. Everyone is ready. There's no like, oh, my ship got blown up. I'm angry. It's, like, oh, Chesley, I need a new tornado. Like it's always like just a positive vibe. And I feel like we've created that at NAD.
And
Um,
and I also think what's amazing
and
about
I love being the leader.
that's awesome. I think what's amazing about that is I do think being a leader comes with its own set of stress. But it sounds
Yeah,
like almost like you've taken this stress and you've taken it to the next level of I'm going to help all these other people, and it gives this
right.
sense of like purpose. It makes you feel like really motivated or needed
Yeah,
in a sense. So it's definitely a great feeling. Do
yeah.
you do you recall any of your best moments playing Echoes that really made you stop and be like, I love this game?
I have one that it was my favorite. So we had a battle royale, um, and not enough of our court members wanted to do it, so we invited some of our old friends from old like partnerships we had. So one of them was this guy named Alf Reeves, and he's a very good player, and I know he's a very good player. Well, there was like 10 of us fighting in this battle, and it came down and it was just Alf and I mean, this was early on in my stroke recovery, so I was not good at pressing the shield and all these things. I was just not good at protecting myself, but Alf and I fought one-on-one for like 10 minutes, and it was the most energetic moment. My husband's next to me just screaming like, get him, get him, get him, and it was the most energetic, fun experience. I lost, but it was a really good fight, and I had so much fun, and I'm like, that was amazing to lose but still feel so happy. Like, that's not how I feel watching football.
Yeah.
Like, like this is a different type of acceptance, and I don't know, you learn like just like a respect for people that you get. And that to me was when I was like, wow, this is a really good game that I'm happy that I lost. And I'm thanking someone that they let me lose to them and they put up a good fight. Like that's when I was like, okay, this game's got it.
It definitely. I mean, sometimes the loss is like that's where you learn, and then that's where you can try
Right.
something new. And I feel
Yeah.
like Eve gives you this environment where you can test new things, and you don't need to be scared of total loss. That you can go into this world and make mistakes. So that's really fun. Did you? We call that the shakes when your hands are just shaking and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm almost gonna win. Like, oh my gosh. Um, but it's
um
definitely.
the shakes for us in this household is someone targets me and I just throw my phone on my husband's lap and leave the room and say, please don't tell me what happened.
Oh my gosh.
Which happens like once every few days.
And especially depending on how expensive the ship is, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now fun question on a side note. So a lot of guys really wish, their girls played Eve. Do you ever take your husband's ISK? You ever use it for
um
you?
yeah, if he doesn't do the dishes, I do. Well, one time I actually kicked him out of the corp because he didn't do the take out the trash, and everyone in the corp had such a fun time with it. They're like, Hank, make sure you take out the trash. Like we don't want to lose you again. But we have like fun, it's never like negative, but we have so much fun running it together because um like he always told me, he was like, I never wanted to start playing Eve Echoes because I knew it was going to be time consuming and I didn't want to take that time away from us, but you play Eve Echoes more than I do, and this is great. He's like, it'd be really hard to play with somebody who's not in the same game as you, and I just think it's so good to play games like together like that.
And I definitely think this is such a different game that's not this it
Yeah,
never really gets highlighted enough how much this game has these amazing team building skills, I think.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Personally, for my boyfriend has always been this massive PvPer. He's always been more interested in killing things, and I've been more interested in building things. But I,
Right,
I 100% agree. I imagine it would be very difficult to not have your significant other
right.
play. But
Yeah, if you're just on the game and they're not, they're not, they're not in it. I think I wouldn't understand the Eve world unless I actually experienced it, how good
a
it
hu-
is.
100%. So I know that you said you were an industry-based player. Have you
Mhm.
ever done any PvP or have you dabbled in PvP?
Yeah, we do quite a bit of PvP. We had a few corp mates who wanted to get PvP experience, so we joined False Trajectory, and they have given us great experience doing that and a lot of fun, missions and meetups and CTAs, and we get a lot of experience. And so we do a lot of PvP. It's fun. We love everything. Like we one day we're doing PvE together, the next one we're doing mining, the next day we're going to attack like just some random person we don't like. Like we do everything together, all of us, but we just do everything. It's, I mean, anything's possible, I guess, with us. Like we just want to do it all and have fun.
Yeah, that's another thing really cool part of this game is you can test and try a lot of different things.
Right.
You can do the industry, you can be the builder, you can build a team, you can be the leader, you can do PvP, you can do encounters. I mean, there is definitely a lot of people say there's not that much content, but I feel like we're also responsible to
So
make some of our
much.
own content. Um,
Yeah.
so that's always kind of a big component of the game is really working with your team to find out what gets your team going and what do you guys like. And so you've been a CEO, you are the CEO. Have you ever
Hmm.
considered doing, have you ever FC'd, been a fleet commander
Oh yeah.
many times, like for when you're leading PvP fleets?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. All the time. Just depends on who wants to uh lead the fleets that day. Our officers are required to do like one fleet a week, whatever they want. But yeah, leading the fleet is fine. I prefer my husband to do it because he's just faster at finding like systems, whereas I don't know what's happening. But yeah, what's great is that a lot of us lead fleets, which is nice. That everyone is like everyone owns their own like little set of ideas. You know what I mean? Like they get to follow the path that they want to go on. Um, and I like that when we lead the fleets and things, we kind of see our strengths and our weaknesses, and we kind of learn our past a little bit more. Like I know that I'm not good at jumping a fleet from place to place because I leave people behind. I throw them into the sun. Like I mean, there's a whole bunch of things.
You're like,
So
oh
it
my
just
gosh. Did you, when you were going through your recovery and it was like the first, what was like one of the first fleets that you led, were you like super nervous? Like, how is this gonna go?
well, we didn't know like anything about the bots, so we had like corporation of like 50 bots, and we had to like weed them out. So my first fleet, no one showed up except my husband. He's always there. Um, but the first really good fleet that I led was probably 5 or 6 months into the game. I would say I wasn't able to process that, um, until way later into my experience with Eve. And now when I lead, like a mining fleet once a day, and that's very easy, for me. But I would say like a year ago, there'd be no way that I could have done.
So with mining, have you ever lost an entire mining fleet, or have a pretty good track record of keeping them all safe?
We have never lost a mining fleet, but there was one time that we were all we were all we were all attacking something. I don't remember how it went, but anyway, we all had the criminal timer, like the fleet of 10, 11 of us, all had the criminal timer. And Commander Hank, my husband, he flew everyone into like a station and like lost billions of dollars of ships. And he shut off the game and he went outside and he was just like,
Oh my
and
gosh.
and it was probably the funniest moment of my life because he just flew you like into the station, like, and that day to me was like, okay, I cannot lead a fleet, because if he can do that, Lord knows what I could do.
Yep.
So I don't try to be in command of the fleet unless we're mining and it's safe.
So a little bit, but it's still definitely a task to take on. It is a responsibility when you
Yeah,
are the fleet commander, and so
yeah,
it's one of those positions I try to encourage a lot of people to try and test out, even if everybody can just do like an interceptor roam, just do some cheap
right,
stuff,
yeah,
and get try to be skilled in fleet commanding because it's definitely a hard role. It's not easy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
so I mean, we touched a little bit on it earlier, but can you remind us what about Eve Echo specifically stands out as a different game to you than other MMOs? Like you said that you played Sims and everything like that before, and you've played like first person shooters. But is it really the community and the team building that makes Eve Echoes different to you?
Um, I mean, there's that, but then also like the math portion of it, the market, and you know, it's you're not competing against other people. You're so much like you're playing in the same exact world, um, with them, and you're kind of challenging them to do better. You know, like a miner has to be two steps above a pirate, and a pirate has to be two steps above a miner. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. But that, like, you know, symbiosis isn't really present in like other games. It's like it's a lot of good sportsmanship, I feel, which makes it different. You know, like I've seen people on Reddit just writing up like thanking mercenary corporations for giving them content, you know, and it's I just think it's different in that way, a little more like family feel.
Yeah, definitely family fun. And you can always get the little sour apples here and there, but I mean, it's all part of the I think it's all part of the good fun of the community. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's definitely a different game. So, I mean, a lot of people have always said that Eve is real, and they mean that Eve delivers this like real experience. You meet real people and you make these real bonds. Do you feel like this is true for you?
I definitely agree. I had the experience of my husband and I took a day off of Eve. Just one Saturday, we didn't log on to Discord or the game or anything, and we didn't tell anyone because, like, who cares, right? So then we go to like our phones that night because we're just having a no cell phone day. We go to our phones and we each our inboxes are filled. Our members, hey Chesley, what's going on? Are you okay? I haven't seen you on in like 12 hours. You're usually here. I'd hit to Hank, hey, you know, we're like a family. Hank, just want to make sure you're okay. I mean, everyone was messaging us, making sure we were okay. And I was just like, aw, that's really sweet. Like that's like my family doesn't message me if I haven't responded in 12 hours. Like this is just like what a sweet, you know, thing to do. It's just rare, and I don't see that in a lot of gaming communities. That bond that you get. It's like the empathy and personal connections are what make it a real life game to me.
100%. There's definitely the real, and there really is the real side on both sides. I know that there's a lot of, a lot of people know Eve as like there's betrayal and scams and lies and
Yeah,
spies, but I mean at the other end of that coin, there's also the amazing friendships you meet.
yeah,
We've played with one of our friends Kaizen for years in gaming, and he's just such an awesome person. I think in this sort of community, especially since you play a lot of the game just as much outside in Discord as you
mhm.
do inside, it really does. It gives you the ability to meet some really cool people around the world you might not have actually met.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's always
definitely.
amazing. So then, in terms of changes and echoes, what if you had to pick on the top few changes that you would want to see, or how they could make Eve Echoes better? What do you think they could do?
Insurance. No, I'm kidding. I actually don't mind the insurance. It's I don't know if it's 'cause I don't understand it fully. It doesn't make sense to me, but you know, I try to use it. But what I really think I would like to see would be more tutorials and not like to show you what to do, but just the goal setting. I love that. When I first started, those basic tutorials were like just so much fun for me every day trying to complete them, and then the advanced tutorials, and then recently we had this Easter event, and that was so much fun for me trying to get like you know trying to build all the 20 manufacturing jobs and trying to get all these things done and just the goal setting. I wish there was more goal setting within the game.
And it kind of helps drive you, or it helps steer you a little bit in like what
Yeah.
you would like to
Mhm.
try, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Just give
good.
you a competition with yourself, you know.
Definitely. And it sounds like you also do some like intercorp competitions where you do the little PvP battle royale.
Oh yeah,
You think you're
yeah.
going to be doing any more of those?
Oh yes, we definitely love our battle royales. It's just hard to find people. But I mean, we'll fight anyone, just load up a frigate. It's so much fun. That gives new corp members a chance to get their feet wet in PvP. And it doesn't matter which corp you're in, you need to get that experience. And it's just fun to be able to go out and get that experience without feeling bad about dying or letting someone down.
100%. Now, do you think you like the bigger scale fights, like where it's like 100 versus 100, or are you more of like I want to go in a small gang room, I want 15 people, and I want to just find and I want to use 15 people to find other teams?
Yeah, I'm definitely like a 15 people person. The big things are so confusing to me. Trying to meet up at like the certain time, and then if you don't meet up at the time, your insurance doesn't apply. Like, there's so many things. But when it's just like me and my court mates and all my guys, we go out and we aimlessly, have fun. We joke around, and it's just a lot more fun when we do our little gate camps and our interceptor rooms and like it's I prefer the smaller, more
The more int
family
it feels
contests
like
where I know
intimate.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And then it's a little easier too to FC and to manage. And I also think you can test out different fleet formations a little bit
Oh yeah.
easier than these like big
Yeah.
scale. These big scale just kind of become War of the Blob, and it's like what was the actual strategy in there other than just trying not to
Right.
disconnect at a certain point. So
Yeah.
so if you were to give any advice to anyone in a recovery from a stroke or any type of other type of thing they might be going through, maybe it's even depression, there's so many different things that people could be experiencing, but specifically if they're from in a recovery from a stroke, what advice would you give them about gaming, specifically Eve?
Um my advice overall and specifically Eve is just nothing is ever going to be easy. Nothing is ever going to be as it could have been before whatever happened to you. But you have to push and push and push, and you can never stop trying. When you stop trying, that's the only way that I feel like you can create like failure. You just never stop doing the tasks that are hard. Ask for help, communicate, let people know. If you don't tell people what's going on with you or what's happened to you or what you need, they're not going to be able to help you properly. So there's things in the game that you really need. You need to find someone to do that. And you have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit to find that person, but you have to put yourself out there. So never stop trying, be I don't know, make sure what your voice is heard and what you need is heard. And just always be pushing the limits of what someone said you had to stop at or what you think you could stop at.
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm also hearing when you say that strong communication. So not only is this
Yeah.
game building these amazing team skills, you're also really learning how to communicate with people in
Yes.
different cultures and
Yes.
time zones.
Mhm.
Are you like a US based corp? Are you only English? Do you have different time zones?
We have different time zones. Yeah, we have in North America, we have South America, we have UK, Asia. We have like all over, and that's interesting because like I created this new buddy program to where like if you're a new pilot, you can be paired with somebody who's an experienced pilot and they can help you out, like be your one-on-one guide. So, but what's hard about that is when you have like a guy from the UK and then you have a guy from like Texas and the time zones, are so hard to figure out. So, just like calendar building and like figuring out or waking like I had to wake up at 3:30 a.m. once to help a guy figure out how to mine. And it's like, it's like, okay, we're going to go out in your venture too and I'm going to teach you how to do it. So that's a hard part is being able to the language barriers,
Hmm.
the language barriers and the time barriers. Time,
Definitely.
not barriers. Yeah, the time changes.
Yeah, definitely. And then is there anything specifically that people have done on your team to help you that you would want to share or point out?
Yes. So I want to definitely thank Herzies and all of False Trajectory. They have taught me how to be a better part of the industry team. Um, when I first joined, we were doing kind of lone wolf industry, and we're living in space, but we weren't really like interacting with everyone. Um, so when we joined Trajectory, my husband explained to them, my wife had a stroke. She doesn't understand anything in this Discord. All of the words she's reading do not make sense to her. Can anyone work with her one on one? And then Herzies has been working with me, and he's writing my DMs, and he he takes me through every step of the process, and it's like, do you understand this? And it's, I mean, everything, just like how to join a channel, how to change your name, how to, like, he completely supports me. And just there's so much learning that he does. And then on my team, my husband, Commander Hank, and then like people who've been with me since day one. Just want to say thank you to Godric and Rex and Silent and Carmel and Garrus. And these people, like, we joined such a little like community that I can count on them for, for anything, like in the game. And they teach you stuff from outside of the game. Like, I know that one of my guys likes to climb mountains with his like dogs, and it's like that kind of like all that outside information mixed with everything you're doing as a team. I don't know, it creates this really good corporation of just, I don't know, like a support group almost. It's kind of what I feel like. It's a really good support group. Like when I'm feeling sad, when I'm feeling a certain way, I can message any of them, and someone will respond, and someone's gonna be funny, and someone's gonna be dumb, and somebody's gonna be this way. But you know what your guys are gonna, what everyone's gonna do on your team, and I feel like specifically all those people and everything just made it possible, especially my husband, but everyone made it possible for me to play with a stroke. And it takes a community, I feel, understanding community.
That's I think that's so incredible. Have you so any of your real life friends, have you ever explained to them what this game means to you, and what is their response?
Um, I only got one friend to play. And my husband and I took him in null and blew him up.
Oh
He's
no.
not that good of a friend. But that's the only person that we had. No one. Everyone says it's too hard. Everyone. I've invited dozens of people. I did actually invite my cousin, and he's on our team, and he's doing great. But he used to play Eve Online, so he kind of already has that, background with that. But no, I don't know anybody. Like, everyone says it's like too hard. It's too hard.
But
That's what I get all the time.
I think that's one of the crazy things I would want to try to figure out is how can we help people to overcome that steep learning curve? Because I mean, if
Right.
if you're able to do it and you're recovering from a stroke, I feel like it's not as hard as people might think it really is. Like it's all
Yeah.
about determination and trial and error. I can tell you when I started, I remember in the alpha, I was in a what was it, a griffin, a frigate, and I was shooting
Yeah.
asteroids, and I didn't realize you need to have a mining ship with mining lasers. Like, so I was doing, stupid things, but
That's great.
I mean, it takes trial and error. Yeah, I just remember even my boyfriend. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm trying to mine, but I'm like not getting anywhere with this."
That was
Um,
me too.
but it was too, yeah. It's definitely there's a steep learning curve, and I know um I've had friends who will ask me about like the drama, and they're just like, what is going on in this game that's like got you so hooked and sucked in? And I really think it boils back down to the community and that family and the connections you have.
Yeah.
Now,
Mhm.
do you think you would ever try your hand at Eve Online for a deeper level experience? I mean, they have a lot of differences, but it's definitely deeper.
Yes, 100%.
So you think you're
Yeah.
so how
I would see why not. It just seems like a step up challenge from what I've already done over the last so many months. I would try it. I haven't. My husband hates it, but I'm sure if I started doing it, he would be completely helpful because he used to play it.
Yep.
He doesn't hate it. He Eve Echoes, he says, is, a lot more user friendly.
Yeah,
Um,
especially the
so,
UI
but
is
yeah, I mean,
so.
I would try it.
Yep. Well, that's awesome to hear. So, any last shout outs or call outs to anyone that you want to thank before we sign off?
Just a big thank you to False Trajectory and the all my court members. You guys are all great, and we have such a great time. And I'm just really happy that all of you have supported me through my own trial and errors and my own mistakes, and you've helped back me up, and I just really appreciate it all. So thanks. Thanks, Nad.
Thank you so much. And we're signing off. Bye, Safe Capsulators.